Star Trek, not as easy as you think to watch in one go. So first of many videos I'll probably try to make, but this is an introduction to Star Trek. I'll take my glasses off because there's a reflection in it. My name's Travis, and this is the Trick Trav channel. Thank you very much. So we'll start off in chronological order of when the series were made. That is the best way to go if you're going to start with 50-something years of one sci-fi franchise. Star Trek, the original series, came out in 1966. It did have an earlier pilot, ran for 3 seasons, was a domestic flop, and then got cancelled. Was later picked up in syndication, got very popular. They had 6 movies, and it was great. Problem is the show's hard to watch. It's very cheesy now. The graphics aren't great, even with the special features, as in the special effects on these DVDs, still really hard to watch. But you can see the beginnings of the utopian future, the way the world grows and changes. It's a good start. I personally wouldn't recommend starting on this series. The original movies, pretty hit and miss. Get past Star Trek 1, which is slow as crap, and go through 2 to 6. Pretty good movies, solid overall. Also starring William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy, DeForest Kelley, and all the original series cast. And you see the universe sort of come into its own at this point. The best ones would be 2, 4, and 6. But I do like 5 and I do like 3, and the motion picture is slow, but it's okay. So, The Next Generation. The Next Generation came out in 1987, 1986, one of them. It was the show that got me into Star Trek, and it stars Patrick Stewart and Jonathan Frakes, and was probably one of the better series of all of them. It's a unique series of which sort of, you see a lot of Gene Roddenberry in it, and it's where he gets a little bit preachy, and that's the first 2 seasons. They are hard to watch. Hard. Slow. But once you get past that, the show becomes a million times better. Coincidentally, when Gene Roddenberry sort of took like a back seat, once his health started to decline. Love Gene Roddenberry, but his universe was a little bit stale. Humans not feeling emotions, sort of being above the feelings of guilt and murder and all of that stuff. But The Next Generation is by far the best acted of the series. I'd say, actually no, they're all pretty good, but we'll get to Deep Space Nine now. What's that? Deep Space Nine? The show that, when it was airing, was considered not a Star Trek show. It was completely different to any other Star Trek show that had ever been, which was 2 and an animated series. Not doing the animated series on here. Best acting, best storyline. Special effects are pretty damn good, especially in the later seasons. Much more adult than the other Star Trek shows, like you're taking bigger risks. Probably right up until the most recent entries. This was the show that every one of them's been trying to get to since then. Star Trek Voyager was the 4th television series. Pretty much started when Next Generation finished, and you can tell that. It's pretty much the Next Generation continuing on. Had a lot of lost things. There's great character moments. Kate Mulgrew and Jerry Ryan are really good as 7 of 9 and Janeway. The show itself is pretty good. If you like a little bit more drama and a little less sci-fi, Star Trek Voyager's the one to go. I'm also aware that I'm holding up DVDs, and apparently I live in 2005 because no one actually watches the DVDs anymore. Star Trek Enterprise, that is the next one. Started off good, then got very much like Voyager, just a bit stale and a bit overused, and the story's boring. End of season 2 gets really good. Unfortunately, not in time for the show to be cancelled after the 4th season. The ratings just went down and down. Scott Bakula's in it. He's really good. The acting's a bit more wobbly than the other series. The special effects are better than the other series, but not good compared to today's standards. Definitely give it a watch. It is also the only Star Trek show that fits into both the main Prime timeline of Star Trek and also the Chris Pine Star Trek Kelvin timeline movies. Chris Pine's Star Trek timeline movies. Basically, they are Captain Kirk and Spock and Bones, but back on new missions. They altered the timeline so they don't have to adhere to anything that come before, during, or since. And it basically it's a good movie. Pretty much there's a lot of Star Wars cues in here. J.J. Abrams directed it. He directed all of, well, Star Wars Force Awakens and Rise of Skywalker. Won't get onto those. And it's a pretty damn good movie. It's just very Star Wars. Star Trek Beyond, though, still my favourite. Star Trek Discovery, which is the last one I have on DVD, I'm sorry, is good. Doesn't really adhere to any of the show's previous things, doesn't follow canon. It's a creative redesign, which means kind of like Doctor Who, in that it's changed up how everything looks, which a lot of fans don't like. But it's a good series. It's really good overall. And yeah, the acting's really good. The special effects are brilliant, but it much more stylistically follows those Chris Pine movies. In terms of the special effects and everything. Really cinematic, action-packed series. The next one is Star Trek Picard. I don't have a DVD of this one. I don't know if I will buy a DVD for this one. I really liked it. But then, I grew up on Star Trek The Next Generation. So, I can't really judge it without sort of going, oh, there's a little bit of fan masturbation for me. But it was really good. The story was in depth. It was a little flat in some areas. But first season of TNG was not any better. And yeah, it was a really good series. I recommend watching it. It's on Amazon Prime. And that is the brief overview of Star Trek shows that you can watch. Except the animated series, because I don't own it. I haven't seen all the episodes. I find it hard to watch. Maybe because I'm just a shit fan. Anyway, this is Trip Trav, signing out. Have a good night.